If you ever wanted to know what really happens at Media City, then this is the podcast for you. Hello and welcome to This is Media City, and I'm joined by Stephen Moyler, the founder and creative director of Immersive Eye. And today, I think we're going to be talking about the future of tech, future of media, and I think there's an outside chance we'll start a revolution. So all very good reasons to keep watching.
So,
This is Media City is a podcast from Media City, and it's in partnership with Salford University, and our production team, all behind the cameras here, are graduates and undergraduates from the University of Salford, so they're keeping us in order. I'm Stephen Chapman, I'm your host today. I'm also the founder and creative director of 39 Pictures, which is based just upstairs. But enough about me, it's another Steve we've got to talk to today. Steve Moyler from Immersive Eye. Now, before we get into what you do, we got to kick off with some icebreakers here. We're going to do this with all our guests.
Yeah.
It's going to put you at ease or put you under pressure, depending on what card you choose. Do you want to pick a card, any card?
ooh, go on then. Let's go for the first one. DVD or downloaded? Depends what it is, I suppose. I'm a film buff anyway, so it's where I get most of my inspiration from. It's where I learn about composition and color grading and just so I watch films like purely for seeing how they're made as well as the enjoyment of it. So, are we talking about favorite film?
Go on. There was one on here, which is, look at that. I do magic as well.
Yeah,
Go on. What's your favourite film then?
I would say probably Point Break.
Oh, really? Why?
The first Point
The first
Break.
one.
Yeah,
Why?
because it was really fast paced, and I loved the way it was directed. And I didn't realize till later on it was Kathleen Bigelow, who's one of the first female directors. Who I think she was married to James Cameron, maybe. It was her first film, and
She was. I'm trying to think what I read. Was it Hurt Locker? No.
The Hurt Locker. Yeah.
See how I wasn't confident in it, but in there, deep inside, it
Hurt
was.
Locker. But there's a chase scene in it, which is a point of view chase scene that goes on for like 2 minutes, and the way they film it's just incredible. So, Point Break, I'd say.
Right. This is building up people to saying, what does Immersive Eye do? Is it purely chase sequences? Tell us.
Yeah, chasing clients. Yeah.
Just for the cash.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about Immersive Eye.
Immersive Eye is my little project, which started out when I left my main job, which was at McCann, 2 years ago now. So it started off as an idea, which was, what is creative? Where is it going? It was just at the start of immersive experiences in AI, just were being mentioned at that time, but nothing like it is now. And I don't really know how to pottle myself. I'll be honest with you, because I can do a range of creative skills, and it's really difficult to explain that to a client. What do you do? Well, what do you need? Because I can pretty much do most of it. And Immersive Eye was just a way to say, I see you. My creative third eye sees you, my immersive eye. So whatever it is that you need, or your client, your business needs, I can see that, and I can deliver it for you.
So in terms of what we see, I know you're doing documentaries. I think it's Media City's first documentary series. That is one strand of what you do. Just tell us about that.
So in terms of services that I offer, it goes from content production, and that is film, videographer, editing, sound, from start to finish, ideation and storyboarding, the whole traditional way of filming. On top of that is now virtual production filmmaking. So I do virtual DOP work, which is we use Unreal Engine.
DOP, director of photography.
Director of photography, yeah. We use Unreal Engine, and I use a digital camera, which is it's an iPad technically on a camera rig. But I can get into the 3D environment, the Unreal environment, and do all my camera work and directing work after the event. which we'll talk about a little bit later on. On top of that, I do motion graphic work, illustration, which is now moving into AI. So I had to move into AI as well. So looking at stable diffusion and comfy UI and more bespoke ways of using AI for clients. WebXR, AR, VR, pretty much fingers in everything. As long as it's creative, like give me a block of clay and I'll get you something out of it, put it that way.
Because am I right in thinking you started in traditional illustration?
Yeah, graphic design, yeah.
So you've kind of evolved as time has evolved in a way.
Yeah, but not meaning to. It was a case of needs must. So I ended up being a really young father at 17, and there wasn't many options, and there was no courses the way there is now back then, which is, we're looking at what, 26 years ago, or maybe 27 years ago. So there was one art course that everything was lumped onto. I'm glad now there's so many more courses for young talent to find, but at that time there wasn't. So I thought I'd missed my window, and I used to draw comics. That was my thing. 2000 AD was the comic, a British comic, and I learned composition and how to frame things just by repetition. I just wanted to get into that field of it, no matter how I could. And I got in by luck. Somebody asked me to do a chalkboard sign for a pub.
Okay.
In North Manchester, which is where I was living at the time, on a council estate there, because they knew I was quite handy with a pen and pencil. So it was at the time where these chalkboard signs started to pop up with illustrations on them. I don't know if you remember, it was like an explosion.
They were everywhere, weren't they?
Everywhere, yeah. Some of them were me. So I started to do that for cash. And then a gentleman walked past who had a set of sandwich shops in Cheetham Hill. And he said, can you do that on perspex for my sandwich shops? So I said, yeah. And then that progressed. And then somebody who went to his sandwich shop had a mobile phone company that sold mobile phone accessories. I don't know if you remember the Nokia 1210s.
They were
So
they
face off.
Yeah.
So they used to sell all the parts for that, but there was no email at the time. That's how far back we're going. So it was fax shots. So they asked me to draw a phone that was separated for a fax shot that they would fax out to businesses. And it was quite successful, the one I did. So they said, can you use a computer? And I lied. I said, yeah, of course I can. Yeah, I can do that on a computer. I got into the room, panic setting. I was so young, but it was like an opportunity. And sometimes you've just got to take those opportunities by the scruff of the neck. So I thought, well, by hook or by crook, I'm going to figure out how to use a computer. The problem was getting hold of one, but then they're quite hard to get hold of.
Very expensive.
Very expensive, yeah.
We got graduates here from the university that go, oh my God, they're so old.
I know. Sorry. But yeah, it was really hard to get hold of, and so I ended up sitting in this small IT studio with a guy called Mark Smitham, who I'll never forget, and he came up to me and he said, "You don't know how to use a computer?" I said, "No, I don't." And he said, "I'm going to give you a couple of months. I'm going to watch your back. Take one of those home, learn how to use it." And without him, I wouldn't be sat here today. So that's why I love passing the ladder down, because it's so important. From there, I learned Photoshop 2. It was at the time, which you couldn't do anything with really. And PageMaker and Quark Express and all these programs that they had, and I just got the bug from there, and then it kind of took off.
And that moved you ultimately
to City Life magazine.
Oh, really?
Guardian Media Group, yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I spent 5 years there in the time where Manchester was booming. It was New Labour. It was that moment. Manchester.
Of course, yeah.
And we were right in the centre of it, because it was a listings magazine for students.
I mean, city life back at that, we're talking about mid-90s.
Yeah, late 90s.
Yeah, mid-late 90s. City life was, you bought the Enemy, you bought this is a long one. You bought Enemy, you bought Melody Maker, you got City Life, which was was tucked in a Manchester Evening News. Even as a student, and I was a student back then, you bought those things because it had, the picture was Oasis on the front or something like that, and it was the thing to read, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's changed a lot now, but that was when everyone, it was that civic pride that those are the three things you carried around.
Yeah, exactly. And to be part of that was incredible. And so I was the illustrator and designer. It was incredible, and seeing journalism, young journalists go at it, and it felt like you was in the epicenter of something so special. And then you'd get, like, Tony Wilson might walk in, or you'd have to go and meet Grandmaster Flash at Sankey's, which is the club back then, and it was, you just didn't know what to expect every day. And I think that as well gave me a different way of looking at design, and being a bit more punk with graphic design. And then I started identifying people that I liked. So there was a company called Attic, which was from Huddersfield, and they were doing incredible things with graphic design and Photoshop and Illustrator. And at that point, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to take these programs and mess them up and see what I can get out of them. And so I started my first business quite young, which was called Creative Flow, and that did really well for a couple, good few years. But I was too young; I didn't know what I was doing, So, but I got some great clients. I got the Midland Hotel in Manchester. Some stuff for the GMX. I worked with Magnetic North. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah. They were called,
Yeah. So that was they were like one of the first digital
experience kind of thing.
Yeah. So I started seeing what they did, and I was like, oh, I'm getting into that field as well. And then from there, I ended up at McCann.
Now, McCann's a funny one, because you talked about all these businesses. McCann's a whopper. I mean, it's McCann's big itself, but then it's owned by a company which is even
IPG.
bigger. Yeah. And McCann is the McCann Manchester, at least, has his office Prestbury, Leafy, Cheshire, Bonnis Hall.
Bonnis Hall, yeah.
It's got a swimming pool in the front garden, and it's also got a haunted pub. Those are the two things I will never forget about walking into Bonnis Hall. It's just incredible. But that's a massive change for you, because that's like, these McCann, I suppose, in context for people who don't, they also do Smith's toy commercials. Kevin the Carrot is theirs, and all of those social media posts where Aldi get off on one, that's usually coming out of McCann.
All of it,
yeah. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, and they're part of McCann World Group, which is an even bigger deal. So they work with Microsoft, they work with L'Oreal, Chevrolet, and they're all connected in networks. So you could get a brief from any of these clients at any point.
How do you go from your company to McCann then? Was it an interview, or was it just?
It was. They needed a freelance, so I went in and they just offered me a job.
Wow!
Straight off the bat. And it was at the time of London Olympics, so for me it was a no-brainer. It was, do I keep going and doing my own little thing, or do I take a step into this area and see if my skills can match these? And it turned out, actually, I was actually being more creative here than what was going on here, so I got to amplify elements of that. And they had an office under Love Creative in Manchester, which was like a little satellite, like pop up, just to see if it would work. And I just walked into a group of some of the most creative individuals I've ever met. Just struck a bond with them straight away, and we felt like this 18. It was great. And we create some amazing work, digital work. And at the time, there was nobody else really doing stuff like that. And the gamification was the buzzword at that point. So it was taking my knowledge from this and then going into this digital realm and working with these big brands, and London Olympics being the first one. And I just thought, this is where I want to be. I felt like every step of the way, to be fair, but yeah, McCann opened my eyes to the global scene, I think, and that was something that I didn't know at the time, because I've been solely in Manchester city centre, and just I'm a proud Mancunian, so I liked being in that area. But then going to Pressbury and driving into Wayne Manor every day, thinking you're feeling like Batman, and it was just a great place to be. And like you say, swimming pool there, and the summer parties were insane. And I learned about tribalistic, in fact, communities there, and the importance of it, which is one of the things we'll probably get onto.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you've gone from sign writing all the way up to working with this massive global agency. Part of it, and dare I say it, is kind of blagging luck
At first,
and then because you've got the experience and you've got the know-how and you've been pushing yourself forward, that's kept driving
lots of
you
late
forward.
listens, lots of late nights.
Yeah.
Lots of, when you're younger and you can do it, it was lots of self-learning, lots of figuring things out, creating my own projects. And then when it got to McCann, all that came to fruition. So I already had done some branding work. I'd started off just picking a brand and creating some brand guidelines, which then got me to create the University of Liverpool's brand. Their logo is my logo.
Wow.
Which is a great thing to see when you go to Liverpool.
Yeah. Even as a proud Mancunian.
Yeah, of course.
Particularly so.
Because their crest was, they're the oldest red brick university in the UK. So their crest has been there since this year dot. And for me to then do the next one, and that'll outlive me, and my children's children will hopefully will probably see it, and know that the dad did that, because they'll go to Liverpool and it's everywhere. So yeah, and then you get to, like I say, McCann, and you've got these brands that need all this work, and you've already, because I'd been trying at the start to do these things for myself. By the time I got there, I could do them. And I think that's one thing a lesson to take for anybody, is just to be able to do personal work, personal projects, and then that transferable skill will be further down the line.
Because of the way your journey is, and we started talking about chalkboard illustration almost, but what you're doing now, or even last week I think it was, standing in front of a fully green screen studio with an iPad in front of you filming stuff, and the camera isn't actually real. That is the change, and it's only over a few years. It's revolutionary, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of it is following the trend. So that you'll be aware of the buzzwords that have come around every 5 years or so.
Oh yes.
So it's gamification, then it's UI UX, and then it's content, and then it's immersive, and then you just now AI, and you've got to keep following those and flowing with them, because if you don't, you get stagnant, I think, and as creatives, that's the last thing we want to be, right?
It is, but I think ultimately, when you look at everything we do, at the fundamental basis of all of it is good content.
Yeah.
What it appears on, or is made out of, or is done, how it's done.
Yeah.
That is almost irrelevant, because if it's rubbish,
that's the vessel.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's the vessel. It's about stories. That's what I love stories. So what story are you telling for this project or this brand? And it always has to start there. Create emotive response. If it doesn't create an emotive response, why bother? But you've got to make people either love it, hate it, cry, laugh. It has to do one of those things, and if it doesn't do any of those, then it's not doing its job properly. It's missed the trick. And I think especially with content, and the speed of the content we make, and the Instagram and TikTok, and you've got about 3 or 4 seconds to make somebody smile,
or hate you,
or hate you. Yeah. So now more than ever, that's more important.
Yeah. There's a constant feeling, certainly from the brands usually, or the agencies. They come to us and say, we need to do this on this, but actually sometimes we have to push back and say, well, actually, it doesn't need to be on that. It could be on a piece of paper. It could be on a tube. It doesn't. We don't have to book that massive green screen studio, because the story you're telling is this story.
Yeah.
And if you want it to be successful, we use the technology to the best way for the story.
Exactly. It's strategy as well. You know, it's looking at the ethos of the company. What do you stand for? What are your pillars? You know, I always try and start there as well. You know, if you know what a company's ethos is, or an individual's, then your content is quite easy to find in that. The stories are quite easy to find in that, and then our job's easy from there. We just have to get the equipment and do the finish. But if you can find those things, they kind of jump out at you sometimes as well. So at McCann, when I was there, I learned a lot of this from sitting with the strategy teams and seeing how they break down a brief. So it would come in from client, and I realized as well that we're problem solvers. Creatives are problem solvers as much as anything else. Somebody comes at you with a problem on a brief, and we have to find the best solution for that problem, right? And this, I learned that through the strategy team and watching how they break things down. Really valuable lessons, which I'm glad that I've taken. I was there at the time to see that. I was there at McCann for 13 years.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
Wow.
I went in as a digital creative lead at the start, or senior digital designer, one of them.
We'll look on your LinkedIn later.
Yeah. But then I progressed to digital creative lead, and then film and content director there, and I helped them start their content department with Rachel Cummins.
The
Craft, yeah. Everybody was talking about content. That was the new word. So I'd had some previous experience with camera work, and there was a few of us at McCann who said, well, we could throw our hat in the ring and see if we could do it, and it kind of just triggered this snowball effect. And then Rach took that and took the scruffy by the neck, really, became the managing director of Craft, and then she helped build that model to plug into other McCanns around the world. I've got to go jumping around Europe with Microsoft because of it, which was one of my my tick boxes of top of the CV, I suppose. it was Microsoft's first Snapchat video advert, which got seen by 62 million people, which for me that was the first time of social media can do what?
Yeah.
62 million views. That's incredible. But the way I got that, I'm going on tangents again, but you don't mind.
No, it's all right. Yeah, go for it.
The way I got that was when I first started at McCann, I painted a picture for, because I like painting. So I painted a picture of Salvador Dali to give away on Twitter for if we could get to 1,000 Twitter followers, I'll paint a picture and send it out. And I did a time-lapse video of it and put it on Vimeo. So 10 years later, Microsoft were looking for a director that could paint, saw that video, and then came and said, right, we're going to take you to Paris, Stockholm, and back to London in 10 days to film the first Snapchat video for the Microsoft Surface. So you never know where your energy goes. And that's one thing I'd say to any young creative is when you create something, it has an energy, right? It has your passion in it, and that goes away like a ripple, and you just don't know where that ripple is going to go.
And with social media being there,
and now more
well,
than ever, yeah.
So I'm going to skip forward a bit now because right at the beginning we talked about and we kind of touched on a little bit about working with Unreal Engine and stuff like that. Now, some people will be watching. Most people will have heard of Unreal Engine, but they'll probably have heard of it more in Fortnite and gaming kind of things. I think the BBC use Unreal for a lot of their Match the Day, is that Unreal?
Real time,
Olympics as well. The studios that don't exist yet, they 100% look like they do exist. But Unreal Engine for a creative is insane what it can do for film.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are only just realizing that as well. I actually started using Unity at first, which is similar to Unreal, but it's more of a scalable version. So it's more about creating games and content which can be used on mobile all the way through to high end. Unreal is more about the high end side of things. It's progressed so much that they've got cinematics in there now, and that is now pushing people to create real time content for film. So if you're on a set, you literally, you could have your set pre-built by 3D modelists. You can do your work in that environment without it even being there. And that's that for a director and a filmmaker like me, it's mind blowing.
They came up with a great idea in a way in that they give it away for free until you make like £1 million on your first game. So it means like even I in lockdown, I was mucking around with it. I made my first game. It's basically a robot banging into a thing and falling over. But then I suddenly realized that pre-visualization on it, which is kind of building the thing before you put the cameras in the thing, so you're trying to save money. But you can choose your lens and your camera. So, I think I'll use an Amira. No, I'll use a Canon on that. No, I'll use a Sony on that.
It's a virtual camera, so whatever camera you want to emulate, you go to the spec sheet of the camera. So say it's an Amira, so you can, or an Arri Mini, you can find out what sensor size it is, put that in, and then your lenses, you just need to look at the specs of those, and a lot of people have created plugins for things like that anyway, but in essence you can get a lot of equipment for virtually for nothing.
The other thing about these new technology like Unreal is that it can push us so much more. You're kind of moving into that area where it doesn't need to exist, the thing you're playing with.
No. Well, I mean, but technically it does need to come to development. You still have to develop the things you want to film in. So it's just a different way of doing things now. So instead of set builders, you've got 3D artists that create the scenes. But the flexibility of what you can do now for the budget is just astounding. You could do a full cinematic experience with a team of 4 people.
Which is mad. But then again, I suppose the cost, is the building.
What it means is it's just the gate is now open for anybody to come and learn it. You can learn it online. Unreal has got some great tutorials from start to finish. So there's no excuse to make your vision, I think. And that, when I was growing up, it was just too far from a distance. How do you get to that point? There's nobody to ask. It's very difficult to find a way in. Now you can find a way in by putting your imagination into something like that with a small team of people and putting it online, and something like Netflix seeing it, for example. And then that's your gateway open. That's the way into these industries. It's just making stuff and doing stuff, and all the tools are there for you, and most of them are free. So
illustrators and animators always put themselves down on this, I have to say, because I sat there with Unreal Engine for days, built a forest, built lakes, built everything, followed a tutorial one by one, and then sat down and thought, actually, I'm not very creative, am I, in that sense? I know how to produce stuff, I know how to direct, but actually to build stuff blew my mind. So don't put yourself down too much, because it takes creative genius to get into Unreal and actually build these amazing worlds. I think we've got to say that.
I think so. Of course it does. But also that's why you have a team of people that you want to get. So if you've got a friend that is great at doing CGI, that's their passion. So if they're into Blender, for example, they're because of another free program. You've got something to Blender. You've got somebody who likes project management, say, who's just the organizer of the group, because you need project management definitely, because you creating assets and
they're the best friends.
The best friends.
And the ones that like Excel. Those 2 people should be your best friends forever.
You've got somebody who's into music, somebody who's into CapCut perhaps, or Premiere, filming on the phone, and then you all get together and then learn this program. That's quite powerful.
Has it changed the way you create? Because when you're doing stuff in studio with, say, Unreal, it's almost in reverse, because the thing's already, rather than, oh, I'll film everything on a green screen and create it afterwards, the thing has to be built first.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to work with Bradley Harris from Crigon Studios, who he's basically he's the champion in this. For me, he's a pioneer in what he's doing. And I was very lucky enough to meet him at Pathway Studio, which was a virtual production studio, which is gone now. But we sat next to each other, and he introduced me to Unreal. And he's a character designer for games, as much as lots of other things, and a great guy as well. And he was just opened the door for me and saying, "Have you seen Unreal Engine and what it can do?" And I was using Unity, like I say, at the time, and it just astounded me, the things he was doing in there. And I was like, "It could be this good, really?" So yeah, this is he introduced me into it, and then we've stuck by each other now, and me, him, and Matt McHugh from Thunderhawk, we've basically joined forces. We have our own little separate companies, so Immersive Eye, Crigon, Thunderhawk, and then we've got somebody called Ryan Virtual, who's a digital nomad. He's in Thailand at the moment, I believe. But he's working with us. But we've created VPC, which is Virtual Production Collective. So all our skills individually are great, because we all do different things, but together they add up to this list of I think like an incredible offering. But what we all do, getting back to your point, is we all work in parallel. So Brad's come up with this great pipeline where we do the theatre first. So we do the motion capture like theatre. So all you're concentrating on is a performance. You don't have to worry about blocking where the camera is, the day, craft service, none of that. It's all
Craft service is the whole point, though.
sometimes
if you don't get good food, what's the point?
Yeah. But yeah, so we concentrate on their performance, and that's you because the headsets and the mocap suits are capturing the movement and the nuances of the face. All that data is then taken into Unreal Engine, and then from there we can start building the scenes. Now, as we're capturing the mocap, the scenes are being built, and the effects are being built. So the pre-production and post-production is now just production along the same. It's running parallel with each other, and then on top of that, I can then start thinking about the storyboarding, and because I'm watching scenes happen, and like, okay, I see where we go with this. So everything just starts running alongside each other, and now we're at the point where all the theatrics have been done, and I'm starting editing as the production's still going. So we're still building scenes, we're still doing the effects, but I can get my edit done that can just be updated, and we're all working on the cloud. And like this is Bradley's vision, which I'm sure you'll do a podcast with him about, and he can tell you a lot better than I can. But I get to then do my directing and DOP work within this structure. So we was at Doc 10 last week, which like
studios downstairs.
Yeah, studios downstairs, with a virtual camera rig with an iPad, and I was in the scenes that were being built, which is like insane to think about. I'm watching metahuman characters, which the data is then attached to. So I'm walking around an empty space, but can see the world that I'm in. It's very Avatar-ish. But technically that's what it is. Yeah. It's like the way they filmed Avatar. But now the technology is this close to you now. So
it's here at Media City.
And it's all happening at Media City. Yeah. So we're trying to pioneer this new way of filmmaking, and I think the way we're doing it is unlike anybody else, and that's really, really exciting. It's to be in the Northwest and to be to be surrounded by all you good people, and knowing that all the skills are here to be able to do that, and they're just next door. It's the Northern way, right?
Well, 100%.
Yeah.
And the exciting thing now, this Peter Salmon told us on our previous podcast that we're kind of in phase 2 of Media City. We've done the first phase. We've got BBC here, we've got ITV here. This new phase is guys like you. It's the revolution. It's the start of. And I'm not putting words into your mouth, so
That's
stop
okay.
me. We've had big companies here. We're probably not going to get massive companies buying buildings because that's not the way life is anymore.
Yeah.
The future, arguably, is what you're doing, which is loads of different people with major skill sets
Yep.
plopping themselves together
The
into
future,
collectives.
the future's in there for what we do. The way I see it is it's modular agency structures. So one of the things that the VPC is, and we would like more people to join that. By the way, it keeps people with individual SMEs working on their own streams. So you very much still have your own element of that. So you can go off and do whatever your business is, but with this umbrella structure of a bigger offering for bigger clients. So say, for example, somebody like JD Sports or actually we've just been speaking to the Hook Group, but if they come to you with a problem, we've got a selection of companies that can solve that, and we get to build an A team for them. And I think that's kind of a great offering for big brands is to go, well, you've got a pipeline of experts here, and you can solve any one of our problems, and we're confident enough that you can build a bespoke team to come in and deliver a solution for whatever the brief is. And I think that modular structure is exciting, and it also opens it up to small companies like myself, other small companies around Manchester who maybe don't get vision of some of these big briefs that come in, or don't feel that they could confident enough to maybe pull some of them off, perhaps, but to feel that comfort within a collective, to know that, well, if I can't do it, I know somebody who can, but we all benefit from that.
Yeah,
I think I think that going forward in 2025, I think we're going to start seeing that.
and we've got this massive content studio outside here with this big old co-working space, which you guys, I think,
we're moving in.
Yeah, and some of the other companies you mentioned have also moved in.
Yeah.
That we'll be having lots more companies move in, and it's almost, I suppose, it's kind of there's going to have to be a sea change with the brands in a way that they understand that you don't have to get there's two parts of the sea change. One, there's places outside the M25.
Yep.
That's really important. And two, it doesn't have to have a swimming pool, not necessarily McCann, but what I mean is it doesn't have to be
nice to have a swimming pool.
It's only 10 minutes walk down.
It's always raining anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And there's outdoor swimming out there. We're fine. But what I mean is, it doesn't have to be a massive agency all the time. You can get probably equally good service. You can get different kind of creativity if you put your trust in this.
What you get is you get innovation.
Yeah.
That's what you get when you're doing it in these smaller, because it's for a larger agency to be able to go and do R&D work and innovation work it's quite risky for those, but for a smaller company like myself, we're constantly doing that because we have to.
You're like speedboats versus oil tankers, aren't you? Really?
Yeah, a little, but there are brands that need the bigger companies, the bigger agencies, because they just need to. Somebody like Alder, for example, with McCann, there has to be a McCann for an Alder because it's such a monster.
It's a beast of account, isn't it?
Account, yeah. And there's so many moving parts, and there's nobody else other than McCann that could pull that off.
But there are bits of, there's maybe not just keep using those as an example, but there are bits of the big brands account which they go, oh, we can do that, but also we've got these guys over here that could give you
100%. Yeah.
So it's not a case of taking accounts from agencies. It's more of a case of those little bits of work.
Yeah. But being able to do it under as a collective, as a trusted partner, for example, where especially with innovation and AI and immersive and all these new words that are now popping up everywhere, that everybody can have a bowl of AI, please. That's nobody realizing what that means. Whereas we've been working on it for the past year to understand that it's about bespoke solutions. It's about using Stable Diffusion and Comfy UI and all these other smaller plugins that create a solution for your brief, your problem, and not an off-the-shelf mid-journey.
But we're also going to have to change, aren't we? Because it's not just saying, okay, big brand has to change. Oh, okay, big agency has to change. We have to think about ourselves as Media City, as companies working out of Media City. How do we collaborate? How do we know who's doing what?
There is some amazing stuff going on here, but it was just being done in these little pockets all around, and there's no network, or there's no natural ecosystem where
until now.
Well, this is where exactly. You champion this quite highly yourself.
I think we're it's one of those things, isn't it? It's not just Media City; it's the north of England. Arguably, we don't shout about what we can do up here enough.
There's some great companies and innovation going on here, and there was just that missing element of this tribalistic feel. Like when I walk at Media City, I kind of, when you walk across that plaza, I don't know why, but my step's got a little bit more of a skip to it. My chin's up a little bit more, and there's something in the air here. There really is. You can see the Lowry in the distance, and you're not drowned out by the city centre bubble, because you can get lost in there. As a young creative, you can get lost in the middle of Manchester, in the centre. But here, I think here you could be amplified, and there seems to be this infrastructure already built with Media Plus, and I think that is a great platform and vessel for building this community, this tribal feeling of wanting to be part of something. And I feel it here with you sat here now, wanting that element of us all banding together and being this place where people can come with confidence, brands can come with confidence, knowing that this is Media City, this is the place to be for solving our problems and being creative and nurturing the talent. It excites me, it really does. You can probably hear it. It really excites me.
I think that, I could talk to you for hours, but I think that is the perfect end to today's shows, because it's the excitement that is amazing. We want to generate that kind of excitement, that togetherness. People will be watching this going, oh my God, what does he do? And then kind of going on to finding out what you do, and it hopefully leads to more collaboration and then on and on, which hopefully is what This is Media City, the podcast, by showcasing the talent that companies that work here is what we're going to do. And obviously we are going to be here every week, interviewing, speaking to some of the amazing talent that is based on campus here at Media City. And if you want to get in touch with us, please email thisismediacity@39pictures.com, and we hopefully will either feature you or get you onto the show somehow. And that's it. And we shall see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is Media City is a 39 Pictures production on behalf of Media City and in partnership with the University of Salford. The production team are Meg Bond, Tegan Easton, Akila Hewitt, James Young and Amelia Husselby.